If we look into the grand history of the world, we can see that the Middle Ages is the middle period of the three traditional divisions of Western history: classical antiquity, the medieval period, and the modern period. As per Merriam-Webster Dictionary, the word medieval has its roots in Latin. With its Latin roots, medi or medium means middle, and ev or even means age. So medieval literally means of the Middle Ages. In other words, medieval period is also called Middle Ages. In the given context, middle means between the Roman Empire and the Renaissance. That is, after the fall of the great Roman Empire, and before the rebirth of culture that we call the Renaissance. We will discuss what Renaissance is in some other video. Medieval period is also known as the Dark Ages. It is believed by some that, in these years, civilization all but vanished. And that, for most Europeans in these centuries it was a time of poverty, famine, plague, and superstition, rather than the age of magic, dazzling swordplay, towering castles, and knights in splendid armor as are displayed in today's graphic novels, movies, and video games. In fact, Petrarch, an Italian poet and scholar of the 14th century, famously referred to the period of time between the fall of the Roman Empire, circa 476, and his own day, circa 1330s, as the Dark Ages. Petrarch believed that the Dark Ages was a period of intellectual darkness due to the loss of the classical learning, which he saw as light. Later historians appreciated this idea, that is, calling the period as the Dark Ages. However, some historians disagreed with Petrarch. And ultimately the term Dark Ages was transformed into Middle Ages. The term Dark Ages is now rarely used by historians because of the value judgment it implies. Here, we get three terms: Middle Ages, medieval times or medieval period, and Dark Ages. What's the difference? Well, after the fall of the Roman Empire, a lot of the Roman culture and knowledge was lost. This loss included art, technology, engineering, and history. Historians know a lot about Europe during the Roman Empire because the Romans kept excellent records of all that happened during that time. However, the time after the fall of Romans is dark to historians because there was no central government that recorded the events of that time. This is why historians call this time the Dark Ages when people use the terms medieval times, Middle Ages, and Dark Ages. They are generally referring to the same period of time. The Dark Ages is usually referring to the first half of the Middle Ages, from 500 to 1000 AD. However, this should be kept in mind that entire medieval period or Middle Ages cannot be considered as the Dark Ages. The Dark Ages is only the first half of the Middle Ages, from 500 to 1000 AD, because, after 1000 AD or Dark Ages, the era of formation of the earliest universities begun. Two well-known universities established in that era are University of Oxford, London, and University of Cambridge. Interesting, isn't it?